what's going on, everybody? It's Tanky Trucker, and this is going to be video number 2, and it's going to give you an idea about the penetrating and penetration of different shells. The first one we're going to use is the T1 Cunningham, which is going to show you the HE shells and the AP shells. I ended up not shooting any of the premium rounds because basically all the AP shells were penetrating. But the second match is a little bit better because I use the Kranvagn. And I ended up shooting some HE shells, heat shells, and APCR. And you'll see the big difference between what happens when an HE shell hits thick armor, spaced armor, tracks, how it what it does for damage, doesn't do for damage, minimal amount of damage. Whereas your APCR would hit stuff in the side and it would penetrate and do your almost 400 average damage. And then the heat shells, where if it hit spaced armor, tracks, or whatever, the round would basically do nothing or just couldn't penetrate. So if you guys want to hold on for a minute, I'll be right back with that, and hopefully you will kind of get an idea how the different rounds work with different thick armor and different areas of a tank when you shoot at tracks and stuff. So I'll be right back. Hey everybody, so I'm in the T1 Cunningham here on these are all bots. It's like a practice map, and I'm going to give you a little bit, just a go over of the difference between the HE shells, the APCR, and the AP. Just to give you a heads up, I ended up not shooting any of the APCR rounds because I wasn't bouncing off anything. Well, I bounced off one target. The rest of the shells were penning, so it wasn't going to show you anything if I shot it with an AP round in a pen or an APCR round in a pen. And also, just to give you an idea, the spot that I'm going to, I already know for a fact that it's a pre-programmed spot that one of the bots are going to go to, because these are all bots. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I talk about somebody pushing you out, how annoying it can be. So I'm going to slow it down here, and these are going to be HE shells that I shoot first, just to show you the difference between the amount of damage an HE shell can do compared to... Okay, now that hit him for 34, and average damage of the HE shell is 36. Average damage of the AP shell is 30, so shooting that HE shell, I already did closer to the average damage of an actual HE shell. So something lightly armored, it's basically fully penetrating and doing almost the full average damage of the shell. Gotta wait for that reticle to shrink in. A couple of times I don't wait, and you'll see. And this is where I'm getting pushed. Right here is what I'm talking about. This is annoying. Now I know it's a bot, so I'm not gonna pitch at him or anything because it ain't gonna do any good. But he's pre-programmed to go to the spot. I knew that. And basically, so this is what happens in a regular match with other humans. They want that spot. They want to be able to be on that corner. They want to be able to stay hidden from the enemy and not get hit. So that's their spot. They're going to take it from you. So how are they going to do it? They're just going to push you out of the way. And it's annoying as all can be when they do this. Because you saw I was close to all the way aimed in. And all of a sudden my reticle went joink and got big again because of the idiot pushing me. But I know he's pushing me, but I'm still going to go ahead and take my shots here. Now that one completely missed, but if you look in the background, you can see where it actually exploded on impact with the ground. And I'm getting pushed still getting pushed. But my reticle's pretty well shrunk all the way back in, so I'm going to finish my couple shots here. That round also missed, and you could see it explode on the impact when it hit the ground back there. And I'd probably be hitting the target if I weren't getting pushed. I'm just trying to show you to show you how annoying it is when somebody's pushing you, what it's doing to your aiming. So put yourself in the position where you're the one pushing somebody. This is why you don't do it. And if they're pushing you, this is what happens. And it makes your... Okay, now I just hit him for 39. The average damage of the HE shell is 36. So I got a high roll on that, which the average damage on AP is only 30. So I'm getting full pins, doing full damage. So I take my last shot here in a second. That time I hit him in the lower plate. Thickest part of the armor, it did 8 damage. because it's not fully penetrating. So if it doesn't fully penetrate, then it does minimal amount of damage. Whereas if I were to hit him with an AP round and it penetrated that spot, I would have done an average of 30 damage. So you take a risk sometimes using the HE shells. So the first couple did great, penetrated fully, did full damage, and I got a high roll. The last one hit the lower plate, thickest part of the armor, and did 8 damage. But it did penetrate and did damage versus bouncing. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and move. Let me speed it up here. Oops. Sorry about that. Sped it up a little too much. Actually, I took a couple more shots here at this guy, and then finally, I pull out and let the guy that's a bot, but let's say his name's Joe and he's on your team, I let him have his spot. And now he's happy that he pushed me out of the way. So we're going to slow it down. Now, that's another thing is when the reticle, see how big it is? I mean, look at the size of this thing. I didn't even let it come close to fully shrinking in, but I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and take the shot. Didn't even come close. Hit way down here. I'm aimed here and it hit here. So the next shot, I let it shrink in. And this is with AP. And hit him for 35. So I got a nice high roll on that one. But now I'm loading. I'm going to go ahead. And I also know that these are bots. And I know that he's not even probably aiming at me. So I'm just going to sit here and load. Once I'm loaded, miss. Because I didn't let it shrink fully in. 28. 34. And he is aimed at me. And I take him out. Got one shell loaded, and this is another thing when you get into an autoloader, you have to make a decision. If you've got one shell left, is it worth just shooting that last shell, or do I want to reload now so I got a fresh magazine to go around the corner? I got one shell left, so I just go ahead, pop around the corner here, take that last shot there, and then I just reload. I know he's not aiming at me, so I just go ahead and sit here and just reload. And finish him off. And again, like I said, I didn't shoot any AP rounds. It just wasn't necessary because all these rounds were penning. Now, if I were hitting something, let's say in the side, rear, whatever, the front, it wasn't penetrating, I would have put in the APCR to show you that more than likely it would have penetrated, but it just would have been a waste. Now, this is what they call the third-person view. And you can just you just hover over the target with your reticle, and you'll see me do it again here. And when he said permission to engage, I right-clicked on it, so it automatically locks my turret on the middle of his tank. And it's not always good, because if you're facing them, it's going to lock on the center of their tank. A lot of times, that's the thickest part of the armor. So a lot of times, auto-aim isn't really that good. Now, if you're circling them and it's hitting them in the side and back, terrific. But sometimes when you're shooting them in the front, it's just not worth it. But I go ahead with my auto aim, take him out, pop off my 2 shells, back up and reload. See, that's the one shell that didn't penetrate, but I wasn't going to load an APCR because I just knew it just hit him in a bad spot. So I got a couple shells left. I'm going to go ahead and knock out this other MS-1. And I'd reload. If you saw, I had 1 shell left, and I thought, I'm going to go ahead and reload, so I got a fresh magazine, and come around here and try and finish off a couple other tanks. Versus getting 1 shot on this guy. So I finish him off. Now, this is what I talk about when I say somebody's capping you. They get on your cap, you see the numbers. Now, we've got somebody on their cap, and it's counting up to, it's already up to 20. They just got on our cap, and it's up to 2. Now, this is where you get decapping points. So they're capping us, and I'm going to come around here and just pop a shell in them. Take him out. Now, all of a sudden, you notice that bar disappeared because I just took him out. And this other guy, I let him get on cap to show you. So it's capping again. 1, 2, 3. And I hit him and take him out, and the bar disappears again. Now I got 1 shell left. Instead of doing a reload, because I know they're picking them apart, and I want to get the kill, this is what they call steal killing. I'm going to steal a kill from the guy that's shooting at him there, and there's a guy shooting at him back here. Now, this is just bots, so it didn't matter. Now, if this were, let's say, a regular game and one of these guys were going for a top gun, more than likely I'd have probably let them finish him off versus stealing a kill from him. But being that these are bots, I'm like, heck it, I'm just going to go ahead and steal it. But what you do is you wait till that I've only got one shell. Now, if I had a full magazine, I would have probably just pumped him into him and killed him. But I got one shell left. And so what I'm doing is wait until his hit points are almost down to nothing, and then I'm going to shoot him. So somebody hits him, and I take him out. So I just stole that kill from probably the guy over here. But like I said, it's bots, whoop-de-doo. But if this were a regular game and somebody were going for a top gun, I would have let them have it, because you don't know how annoying it is to have 5 kills. You're going for that 6th kill to get a top gun, and then all of a sudden some ding-dong that hasn't done crap the whole game pops up there and kills him and gets his first kill of the game and takes the top gun away from you. It's just annoying as all can be. Anyways, just hold on for a minute, and the post-game stats of that, and then I got another replay in there of a tier 10 match that will show you the big difference between HE shells, heat shells, and well, in the case of the tank, I use that APCR, not AP. So give me just a minute, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, now to give you an idea on the different shells, right off the bat, I was going to load 4, this is an auto-loader, and I'm loading 4 shells of HE, and then I got it pre-set up to go, once those shells are shot, to go to my APCR rounds, and then I was going to shoot some heat rounds, just to show you the penetration when you're hitting thicker stuff, what happens to the HE shells, because they don't fully penetrate, how much damage they do. I go to a spot, and this is Wilhelmsdorf down the 8 line. They call it Tank Alley, because a lot of your heavies go down that way. Just to give you an idea also about when you're hull down. When I'm talking hull down, this is what I'm talking about. They can only shoot at the turret of the tank. They can't shoot the frontal hull of it. A T10, T110E5 did get over here, and it made it a little bit hard, but I was also communicating to him every time I was reloading. I would hit my 3 key. So right there, I just got hit by an HE shell from the T49. It did absolutely no damage. Nothing. Didn't even, it splashed me for 50 hit points, I think. Yeah, 50. So, I mean, it's minimal. But this thing has such great turret armor. He should have shot at my frontal hull, and he didn't take that opportunity. I think he might have thought I was already loaded and didn't want to start getting pummeled. So basically, he just popped out, took a quick unaimed shot, hit me in the turret, and took 50 hit points off me. So it was really nothing. So the object up is for me is to get to the spot right up here, and then I'm hull down, because that bank is high enough that it covers the full frontal hull of my tank, and all I can see is the turret of my tank, and that's all I have to try and pen. And also the T110E5 gets up here, so all I have is basically his upper hull to shoot at too, or excuse me, is his turret to shoot at too, which that's why when you see a lot of damage coming off, it's pretty minimal damage. Now I'm loading, I'm hoping this guy was going to pull out, and no such luck. And you'll also see when I'm reloading, I'm hitting my 3 key, which I set up my key bindings. They're set up differently automatically when you install a game. And so for me, when I hit my 3 key, it's telling basically on my mini-map, it'll show a little spinny thing around me spinning, and it lets everybody know that I'm loading. And then I kind of, as I get closer to being loaded, I keep tapping it so that the T110E5 that was next to me, which was a good thing he was paying attention, he would also, once I was loaded, he backed off, and he'd let me come in and take shots at him, and then I'd back off, hit that I'm reloading, and then he would pop in and start taking shots again. We were kind of switching back and forth. And basically, that's kind of like what I was talking about when I say hit point sharing. I wasn't popping out, taking, if this were, let's say, a gun like or tank like his, where you get 1 shot, you reload, 1 shot, reload, 1 shot, reload. This is, you get 4 shots and you reload. So I was taking all 4 of my shots, backing off, and then letting him take up the position, shooting, and then when I was reloaded, I would tap my 3 key, and he would automatically, he was backing off and letting me in, and I would take shots, take the damage, and then back off. So we were kind of hit point sharing there, which was cool. So, you know, he knew what he was doing, which helps out. So anyways, you'll you're going to see here, I'm going to go ahead and slow it down here so you can see. I don't want to slow it down to nothing, but I want you to see. There's the IS-7. Now this is an HE shell that I'm going to shoot at him right here in his turret. And see, you can see my reticle's red. Now when you're shooting, now he hit my turret and bounced, did nothing. So that HE shell did nothing. Didn't scratch him, didn't do anything. But he also shot me in the turret, and his round did nothing. So he's backing off. Now that round, that's another thing. When you hit objects, be it wood, windows, that was a car sitting right there. If you're shooting an HE shell or a heat shell, if you hit that object, like I did the car, the round's done. It explodes on that object. Now, if I would have been shooting an APCR or an AP shell, if the object was not really thick, it would have gone through the object, destroyed the object, and continued on to the tank, and then started over on its penetrating algorithm to whether or not it's going to penetrate that tank. Whereas HE and heat hit that object and the shell's done. It explodes because it hit that object, and the charge on the end of the shell has been detonated and the shell's done. It no longer continues flying towards the tank and tries penetrating that. It is just completely done. So like that shell hit that tank, that little truck or car up there, and the shell is done. So it was a wasted shell basically. So I come in and I aim at the STI. And this is where the 57 Heavy drove out in front. I'm like, well, I'll shoot him, but I'm aimed right at his tracks. So you'll see my shell hit, 127 damage, and all it did was knock his track off again and did 127 damage. Pitiful. But his track, that's what I'm saying when I say the track ate the damage, that's what I'm talking about. The shell hit the track basically gets knocked off, could destroy the track or just damage the track. Even if it destroys it, they can put it back on and drive off. And I think that's what he does, which in turn I've got one shell left, I believe. Yep, I've got one shell left, and I shoot at the STI. So I back off a little bit because I want him, because I actually didn't want to shoot at him again. I wanted to shoot at the STI so I can try and show you when I hit his lower plate, or his still thick frontal armor, and he's angled. If you see him, see how he's angled about a 45 degree? He just made his front armor go from like 110, 120, whatever it is, up to like 300 millimeters thick because he angled it. And when they angle it in these HE shells and heat shells, when they hit them, especially the heat shells, they don't penetrate even close to as much as they should to get full penetration. So that's when you'll do minimal damage again. Well, actually, I kind of hit him. It wasn't that in a really good spot, but it only did 44 damage. Okay, so I'll go back up to normal speed, and you'll see me hitting my 3 key, and you'll see a little thing come around me right down here. See it spinning around. Every time I hit my 3 key, you'll see a little spinny thing come around me. But I'm just letting the T110E5 know I'm loading, and I just hit it again, so he just took a HE shell for 200 damage. Now I'm going to pause it and see if I can spin around. I don't have any mods on, but right here is where that HE shell hit. And yeah, that's why it actually didn't even pen, I don't think. I wish Wargaming would add in a hit log showing when you're hit how much damage it does and keep track of it up here. Yeah, somebody hit me with an HE shell, and it did just a pitiful amount of damage, but that's probably right about where it hit. So I've still got my front hull covered, and so I just let you'll see the T110E5 back off. He knows that I'm reloaded because he's keeping track. Now that 57 Heavy was at a nice angle, and I shouldn't even have wasted a shot on him there, and it did a critical hit, basically probably just damaged his track. But now he backs off and gives me the lower plate. I have no clue what happened to that shell. The gun went bang, but I never saw the shell fly. It did nothing. So I don't know. I started having a little bit of a lag issue. I don't know. Literally, I have no clue what happened to that shell. But I still have 2 loaded, so I pull out a little bit further. Lower plate. I back off. I've got one shell, and I put it back in the lower plate of the Jagdtiger. Couldn't think of what it was. So now I'm loading again. So I hit my 3 key. You can see the little spinny thing spinning around my tank right here. Spinny, spinny, spinny. And I let the E5 come up there. Now he takes the front, and he's taking hits. He's shooting, and they're only bouncing. But you'll see now, once I'm loaded again, I'm keeping the eye behind me off to the right. It's a good thing. Even though you got this mini map right here that shows everything's in front of us, there's always that one sneaky little guy that somehow gets up here and he gets over here and he pops out and shoots you. So I always keep a real good eye on my mini map to make sure, you know, what's around me. And I also look around like I did where I was, you know, looking around like this. So basically I'm loaded. I hit my 3 key. He knows I'm loaded, but he was already getting up there to shoot, and he backs off. So this guy was doing really, really good. Now this time I'm shooting heat shells. And you'll see I got the side of his turret, but he turned it just in time. Didn't even hit, and beautiful shot right there. Didn't even scratch him because he's at I don't know, to be honest with you, how that one didn't really pen. All I can think of is at the angle he was, the shell just exploded on the outer part of his armor. So far, there I put the shell literally right up, right on the very pike of his pike nose, and it actually penetrated, which I was kind of surprised about that. It must have hit right at the tip, but below, and that round penned him for 416 damage. But that was 4 shells shot, and only out of those 4 shells, 1 pen. 1 hit the frickin' rocks, and 2 of them did nothing, and finally the 4th one penetrated. But that's the problem with heat shells, is when you're shooting heat, a lot of times they don't penetrate, you know, spaced armor or really good angled stuff. So I figured I better get up here. I'm loading, but I'm going to get up there and try and help the T110E5. I've taken some damage, not a lot. I've taken a lot less than I would if I were not hit point sharing with the T110E5. But I get loaded here, and I thought, I'm going to go ahead and come around this corner and just take this IS-7 out. He's already loaded, and he puts one right in the side, right in my the superstructure of the tank, the hull, whatever you want to call it. But he hit me right in the backside, and he knocked my track off. No, he didn't knock my track off, but again, I'm heat shells. I just bounced the first one. Wasted the second one because the guy killed him as I was shooting. So now these two, I got 2 shells left, and the T110 bounced. And finally I penned. I'm sorry, T10, not T110. T10, which is the IS-8. So the first shell that hit him did nothing. It either hit him in a bad angle or hit some spaced armor, and it kills the shell and does nothing. And finally, the last shell hit him, did 384 damage. And I was going to reload heat shells again. I'm loading right now, so I just kind of wanted to get out of the way because a lot of times they can shoot you from up there, or they get over here and there's a little hole up there when we get around the corner, I'll point it out to you. So a lot of times tanks will sit right up here and shoot you, you know, in the back as you're going down that road, or when you come around, they'll shoot you coming up this road. And so I just kind of wanted to get out of the way so I didn't get hit. Basically, that's the end of the game. Somebody ends up, they get on cap and cap them out. We were begging for them to get off so we could go shoot at more and get more damage, but they decided they just wanted to cap, and there was 3 of them on it. No one would get off. So I hope this one was a lot more helpful on showing you the difference between the HE, the heat, and the APCR, how the heat shells weren't penetrating fully and only doing 44 damage, 127 damage. They just weren't doing, they were doing definite damage, except for when I hit the IS-7 in the turret. If you hit something that's too thick or at a real bad angle, it'll explode and just do nothing, no damage at all. It just blows up, does nothing. And that's what happened when I hit the IS-7 in the turret with the first shell. So most of the time, if you hit anywhere else, it'll do you know, definitely do damage, but 44, 127 doesn't do much of any damage, but it will usually do like a critical damage to knock off their track, take out a crew member. And with the heat shells, you saw how those were hitting the at a bad angle, and they were not penetrating, or spaced armor and not penetrating. And then the APCR, those pretty much all penetrated, except for if I hit something that was really, really way thick, and it just wouldn't penetrate because the armor's just too thick for it to go through. So anyways, if you want to hold on for a minute, I'll have the post-game stats of this to go over with you, so I'll be back in just a minute. So, now this was a perfect example on the difference between HE shells, AP, and APCR, or excuse me, heat shells. So, when I first got up to my spot, I had preloaded HE shells because this is an auto loader, so I had 4 of them. Now, you could see when I hit the stuff that those rounds were, I think they got 60 penetration on the HE shells. Yeah, 60 pen. So the stuff I was hitting was doing minimal amount of damage. One, because I was hitting it in the front on the thickest part of the armor. 2, it was not fully penetrating, so it was just basically splash damage and minimal amounts of damage. So, like I hit the STI, 44 damage. 44 out of a gun that the average damage is, I believe, 390. 400. Okay, so I did a whopping 44. I hit the 57 heavy in the side, but his track ate most all the damage, which, yep, knocked out his track. And it did 127. Thought I hit one more. I thought I hit the IS-7 once too, but I'll have to go back and look because it's saying that I believe I hit him with APCR and maybe a heat round. Now, heat round does not like spaced armor. The IS-8, the front of those have a lot of spaced armor. The IS-7, spaced armor in the front, thick armor, and the round, and at the angle, the round hits straight. You know, that's why those pike noses are so nice, because they're piked, you know, like that, and the round comes in, it hits it, and it just kind of, it more or less explodes on the outside of the tank, really, so it loses a lot of its penetration going through the front, and that's why a lot of them won't penetrate, or well, basically they just don't penetrate. So that's why when I shot the IS-8, or the T-10, excuse me, I think I hit them all 4 times. I think 1 penned out of the 4 rounds because all the other ones just plain didn't penetrate. Just those pike noses are really kind of nice for, you know, the Russian tanks. Now with the APCR, that was kind of 50-50. I think I penned most of those, but those are, yeah, APCR. And the APCR, the velocity of those shells coming out are a lot faster. Close range like that, you're going to penetrate a lot easier. Now AP rounds, they still, a lot of them get pretty good velocity, but they're just not as good as the APCR, and a lot of times those won't penetrate. I was kind of hoping that, or I should have played a tank that was kind of this setup, except for with AP instead of APCR for the premium round. But also with the Kranvagn, I wanted to show you, and also you saw with the T10E5 next to me, they were also shooting HE at us, due to the fact that they knew that they weren't going to be able to pen our turrets. So when they were hitting us, they were doing very minimal amounts of damage. But I'll go back and do the replay and you know, kind of show you when I got hit, when it actually hit the turret, and when it hit my superstructure, and actually, because the front of the Kranvagn is really weak. It's only got like, what was it, 80 armor or 90? It's not very much. Yeah, 90 frontal armor. So pretty easy to, even though it's got a pike nose, it's still pretty easy to pen the front of that. But we did bounce a Jagdtiger round, and we did bounce an IS-7 round. So, yeah, shooting the HE like that to show you how it works. I didn't do a whole lot of damage. I didn't break 2,000. Normally I do about 3,000 when I play this, but I only did 1,805. One, because I was shooting HE, and I knew the front of the stuff I was shooting at probably wasn't going to pen, but I wanted to show you the difference between the HE hitting and the heat hitting, what, you know, that the HE would definitely penetrate but do 44 damage, where the heat, if it hit spaced armor and stuff, wouldn't even penetrate, and the APCR would penetrate, and you had a better chance of shooting and penetrating and doing damage with the APCR over the heat, even though it's got like double the penetration. Because yeah, the APCR has 252 pen and the heat has 300. But you could see that the APCR was penning no problem, whereas the heat was not even penning. It was just wasn't even penning. Even though it's got more penetration, when it hits the spaced armor, it can't penetrate. It just dies out. So yeah, we only did 1,805 damage. Plus, when you're shooting HE and doing 44 damage in your first 4 shells, yeah, that really doesn't help your amount of damage. So, but I had 16 shots, 13 hits, and only 6 penned out of those. But again, there was an IS-7 and an STI. Those two tanks have about the best turret armor in the game, and they're both down the Russian line. And if you're looking at still trying to figure out what line you want to go down, those have really good, super turrets. I've been in my STI and I've been hit by T-92 artillery and the Pete's the German tier 10 artillery. Can't think of what it is. Drawing a blank. Let me see. I'm gonna cheat here real quick, guys. Sorry about that. Just drawing a blank on it. Yeah, the GWE 100. And they hit me with AP rounds. The AP round on this one has 303 pen, and I believe the as we scroll through 100,000 different tanks here, probably went right by it, didn't I? I did. Sorry, guys. Where is it? There it is. T-92. Helps if I go back to the American line. That has 370 pen. And in my STI, one round after another hit me in the turret, and I bounced both of them. I wish I would have saved that replay. It was 6 months ago. But, yeah, both of them hit me and bounced. And the first thing that popped out of their mouth was hacker, cheater, and everything else. And I just sat back and laughed because I know I'm not hacking or cheating. It's just they hit that turret, and the turret on the STI is so thick and strong, they just didn't pen it. Yeah, so the amount of damage bounced on that was just off those 2 shells was over almost 4,000 damage bounced. And the Kranvagens's kind of the same. It's got a hellaciously strong turret, and a lot of people, they shoot at it and they shoot at it and they shoot at it, and they just get frustrated because they can't penetrate it due to the fact it's like thick. 215 millimeters. Oh, that's the ML2. I'm sorry. Yeah, 225 millimeters of frontal armor on the Kranvagin. People shoot at it all day long and bounce, and they get mad. And then finally they start shooting HE at it and picking at you, doing 33 damage, 40 damage, 20 damage. So, yeah, if you can get hauled down in a tank that's got really good turret armor, that's that would have been a video down the road, but obviously that'll help you. Now, as you can see, you get hauled. That's the difference when you're hauled down and somebody penetrating your hull. So if you want to hold on a second, I'll go ahead and get the replay for the next one going here. So I'll be right back in a minute. Hey, so this is the results of that battle, and kind of what I was trying to show you there was one, how being in front of somebody and how they push you out, even though this was all bots. I don't think there was one. No, I was the only human in that match. Otherwise, it was all bots. You could see how I took that corner, and sorry, I'm gonna make sure that was on. And one of the bots that was behind me was pushing me out. Now, given that was a bot, it's a pre-programmed area that it's supposed to go to. I tell you, there's a lot of times that when you have human opponents and human, platoon mates, or, in a match like that where it's all humans, no bots, well, hopefully, you'll have people on your own team do that to you, and it is so annoying. I mean, you could see I was trying to shoot at those tanks, and I knew it was going to happen. I knew I've been at that spot before, and I've seen it happen, and so I knew to go there, and I knew it was going to push me out, but I wanted to use that as an example on what not to do to somebody, because it's so annoying when you're trying to shoot and you got somebody pushing you out. But the main reason I was trying to do this video was to show you the different rounds. So the first 5 shots I took were HE rounds, and you could see that when they hit and they do full penetration, they were doing a better amount of damage than the standard shells. The thing with HE shells is when they don't penetrate, they don't do much, if any, damage. When they fully penetrate, they do full damage, and it's a lot of times it's twice the amount that your regular AP rounds would do. Second, I was hoping that I was going to have a lot of AP rounds bounce, where I could show you how the AP rounds would bounce. Then I could switch over to the APCR, the premium rounds, shoot those, and show you how, oh wow, look, those pen now. But I ended up not shooting any premium rounds because I only had 1 bounce. That's the problem with tier 1 and 2 tanks, is everything pens them. Unless you have an auto loader that's got really bad penetration, then like the APCR round for the PZ1C, a lot of people shoot straight APCR with that, because I think the penetration for the standard round is like 11. Don't quote me, but I think that's what it is. And then you bump to the APCR, and it almost triples your penetration, so you're able to penetrate stuff. It might not be 11, it might be 20. I know it's not a lot though. But anyways, and then in that match, you saw one guy get on cap, started capping us, and I took him out instantly. And there was another guy heading to cap, and he got on cap and took him out too. That's an important thing. That it's a real bummer when you're winning the match. Let's say they've got 3 vehicles left, and you've got 8, and 2 of the enemy guys get on cap, and they win by capping you out. And you'll see a lot of your teammates won't even attempt to go back to cap to get them. They'll either keep heading towards the enemy cap to get on their cap, or they just won't even turn around. And I just don't understand that. But if they start capping you, the last thing you want to do is be winning by teammates. You're leading them, and then they get on cap and beat you by capping you out. That's just such a bummer. But in this match, just for instance, I shot 34 rounds, hit 28, pen 27. And that was with HE, which I was surprised every one of the HE rounds actually penetrated. A lot of times those will hit and do nothing. But I got pretty lucky, I guess. RNG, when I'm shooting against bots, works beautiful. Only bounced 1 round. Got hit once and it penned. I hit 13 out of the 15 vehicles and destroyed 11 of them. But again, this is bots. I mean, anybody can kill. A lot of times you'll see people go against these bots and kill, 14 out of 15 or 15 out of 15. When you're going against bots, it's basically this computer generator, computer program tanks, and it's like the dumb of dumb when it comes to tanking. But anyways, I hope that kind of helped you a little bit. I'm used to the bigger tanks. Now, if I took a bigger tank out, which I probably will do also, and slap it into this video just to give you a better idea, when you're up in tier 10s, the difference between when an HE shell hits, what it does for damage compared to an AP and an APCR. It'll probably help you out a lot more than this video did, just due to the fact that everything penned. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you took something from it. I know it wasn't the best, and like I said, I'll add a tier 10 match into it to give you a better idea how the HE shells at the bigger tanks are handled than in the low tier. But if you like the video, please hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. And this is Tank and Trucker. You be safe, and I will see you on the battlefield.